Hello, my name is Nando, and I'm here to give you a presentation on why pro-choice is the right choice. So, as we know, women's rights have gone through quite a bit of a roller coaster throughout history. Um, so for a long time, women have been treated as being less than men, and in fact, women used to not have the right to vote. Used to not be able to sue for sexual harassment. They could not enlist for the military. Marital rape was not criminalized. They had difficulty even getting a credit card, and they could get fired for being pregnant, all while legal abortion was not an option. So all this yes did occur in the past, and we did indeed come a long way since then in making it more equal between both genders. However, what I read to you just happened less than 100 years ago. And in actuality, that's not very long ago. And there are still some people today that believe men are superior than women. So, women's rights today. Well, like I just said, they do have a lot more rights than they used to in the past. However, women still face many challenges today. For example, they get paid less than us while doing the same job that we do. For every dollar a man earns, women will make 78 cents of that. And for every dollar a father earns, with children under the age of 18, a woman would make on average 74.7 cents. So that's really highlighting the gender inequality when it comes to the pay that we receive. Why would a man make more than a woman if they're doing the same job, but they still get woman still would get paid less? It doesn't make much sense to me. While they could be doing the job just as well or possibly even better. In no other country, in fact, does a woman actually make as much as a man. So our country's not alone. But in some countries, women make 88% of what a man makes. While in the US, women make only about two-thirds of what a man makes. And we actually rank 74th in wage equality. So it's not the worst, but we're like in the middle ground out of all the countries in the world. But in my own opinion, all countries in the world, women should get paid equal. But that's besides the point. So in fact, in the US, that women do have the right to a maternity leave when they're pregnant, but only 12% of the companies in the United States offer paid time over maternity leave. Which, how would any company think that's right to do? This is someone that's going to be a mother. This is someone that needs money to provide for their child. You don't know their situation. Maybe they don't have a husband or father in the picture to help. So this really doesn't make having a child very very easy. So I can go on and on about the struggles today, but I probably see the point by now that there's still inequality today. I even see some people say, like, this is on Facebook or some people in person. I've even seen some people say that women should be happy to live here because other countries have it worse. Well, yes, that is true. Some women have it worse in other countries where they can't even go out in public at certain times, or they have to keep their entire bodies covered up even in the blasting heat. And yes, they don't have to do that here. However, saying that is basically the equivalent of saying that someone cannot be happy because someone else has it better. Which honestly, what kind of logic is that? So now let's get to the topic at hand. Let's talk about abortion. So abortion gives the women the option to having to go through the process of carrying and give birth to a baby and not. So there's numerous reasons why a woman might want to get an abortion, including medical, financial, mental, and so on. In my opinion, any reason a woman wants to get an abortion is a pretty good reason. However, this topic is pretty controversial today, and the population is probably split in half on this topic. And they're split into two categories: pro choice and pro life. Pro choice is supporting the option to have an abortion or giving birth to the child. It's basically say, women deserve the right to make their own choice. While pro life says basically is no abortions ever, no exceptions. So please allow me to give you some facts on this topic. So how about we tackle the argument for pro-life? I don't hate anyone who is pro-life. I believe that everyone has the right to their own opinion. However, I don't think that someone's opinion can really dismiss facts at hand. So I don't dismiss other people's opinions, but we really can't ignore the facts. Um, so many people are pro-life due to religious reasons. They may see it as a sin. They also might view it as being murder. And personally, I'm not a religious person. However, I don't, I believe that everyone has the right to believe what they want. Um, However, I don't think that religious people should be forcing things down other people's throat that may not believe in what they believe. And they shouldn't try to shame someone into saying you're a sinner or you're a monster or so on. So other people believe that you can just put a child up for adoption, and there are some believe that, if you aren't ready for a child, then you shouldn't have sex. So please let me comment and argue against all these points. So let's first tackle the adoption argument. So adoption is a very common thing that people say in response to abortions. However, I feel that a lot of people don't understand the facts or the process of it. So there are actually more than 100,000 children under the age of 18 that are currently waiting to be adopted. And every year more kids come in. And also every year around 23 children age out of foster care, meaning they were never adopted, and so now that they're of age, they're no longer going to be taken care of by foster care, which leaves them with no family. And I don't know about you, but that's really sad. Getting forced out of a place you've been in for 18 years and then having no one, no family whatsoever. It doesn't help that the process to adopting is hard and also can be expensive. Some adoptions can be up to $40,000 even. Anyways, this argument implies that the only reason a woman would want an abortion is to avoid the so-called responsibility of raising a child. And To be honest, even if that was the case, if a woman does not want to have a child, then she should not be forced to have one. But to imply that it's a woman's sole responsibility to do so is pretty bad. So honest, so in conclusion, if unless someone has a solution to fix all these problems when it comes to adoption, then this argument pretty isn't is pretty invalid. So then let's get at the religious belief slash claiming that it's murder. So if you were to get an abortion, you're aborting a fetus. It's not a person. A fetus is something that cannot survive on its own. It's something that's fully dependent upon growing inside a mother's stomach. And it's just entirely dependent on a mother's body, and born human beings are not. Yes, as a child, we are pretty dependent upon our parents. However, we do not require their body to function and to grow. We do that on our own. So, let's say even if a fetus was alive, then just the right to life any does not give someone the right to use someone else's body. Just like people have the right to refuse to donate organs, they have the right to refuse this. It's their body and no one can tell them what to do with it. The right to life also doesn't give also doesn't, give the right to put someone's health or even life in danger, because yes, bearing a child can do that. Then there's the don't have sex if you aren't ready for a child argument, which, to put it bluntly, I honestly feel this is a pretty stupid argument. Because it's basically saying that you're not allowed to have sex unless you're trying to have a child, and you only can have sex when you're doing that. Which, do we honestly believe that's gonna happen? It's not. So, saying that going through the process also uh, is the responsible choice, which is it really? Wouldn't the remorse, wouldn't the more responsible choice be to not bring a child into the world if you cannot provide for it, so you don't put it through the hardships, the struggles, the misery, anything of the sorts? Or would you rather have a child suffer? Also, saying this implies that a woman's sole responsibility is to bear a child and she cannot have sex unless she's going to do that. It's pretty dumb. Some might point out that women should practice safe sex. However, not everyone has the access to do so, and also there are many people that lack the education. In fact, me personally, I didn't have a sex ed class until I was in 10th grade, and even then it was only half of 1/4 of the year, which was a marking period. Half of a marking period. Luckily for me, I knew about this stuff, but for someone that doesn't, how else are they going to learn it? And plus, then there's now that Trump's in the White House and wants to defund Planned Parenthood and ban abortions. The choices will be even less. The access to safe sex is gonna go down. Then there's rape. Now, there are some pro-life people that will say if someone is raped, that then it's okay to get an abortion, but only then. However, let me counter that with this. you say that a fetus is a living person and that getting an abortion is murder. So what makes a child who was not conceived by rape, who what makes it their lives so much more important than those who were conceived by rape? What makes their life less than those? The children did nothing wrong, right? So I find that pretty hypocritical if someone says that. Even though some pro-life people say only if they're raped, there's a big portion of pro-life people who will say no abortions no matter what. And it's honestly not surprising with who's our president saying and him saying things like women should be punished for getting abortions even if they were raped, and then the vice president also saying women lie about getting raped. And yes, they really did say that. I didn't include the video of the interviews. I've seen them myself, but you can probably find them on if you Google them. Trump was commenting on abortion, obviously, and then he stated that, if a woman gets an abortion, he does believe that there should be some kind of punishment. And with Mike Pence, our vice president, he was stating that if abortion was legal for rape, then women would lie about getting raped, which they may if that was the only option they had, if that was the only way they could get an abortion. But saying that is basically saying people lie about getting raped, which could happen, but getting raped actually does happen, and we live in a sad world if we can't trust in someone and if we have to accuse them of lying just because we don't want them to do what they want to do with their body. And then there's, of course, the struggle when it comes to getting an abortion. So, getting an abortion is obviously not an easy choice. Many women struggle with depression afterwards and they try to come to terms with their decision. And the people today don't make it any easier on them. They will shame them. They will do all sorts of things and not think twice about it. So, who's the real monster? Someone who didn't want to bring a child in the world because they weren't ready, or they didn't want one, or they couldn't provide for it, or someone that is hurting under someone who's already in the world. So now let me say my personal thoughts about it. I am obviously pro-choice, if you haven't noticed already. And this is actually a topic that I feel very strongly about. We men in have no right to say anything about this. We don't have really a say in if a woman gets an abortion, not even if we do get them pregnant. Yes, we are the father, and many people say that it's half ours that we get to have a say, but we really don't. We are not the ones whose bodies it will impact. We are not the ones who have to carry the child or give birth to it. We do not have to go through the pain or the daily struggles that come with it, and we should not force someone else to do so. Being pregnant and giving birth is not a walk in the park. We men have no idea of that, and that's probably why some men will try to say that, will try to force a woman to go through a pregnancy, but we have no right to do so. Me personally, I was adopted, and I do believe adoption is something good. However, as I've said and pointed out and proved already, adopting is not easy. Many kids are left without families, and unless someone has a plan to fix that, the problem would only get worse if every abortion was not done and each child was put up for adoption. The numbers that I read to you earlier would just skyrocket, and we'd have another problem, an even bigger problem. So, in conclusion, any reason a woman has to get an abortion, I believe, is a good reason. They could not afford it. They may not be mentally ready. They may not be emotionally ready. They may be too scared. They maybe are too young. They maybe were raped. They might not be in a good point in their life. They might be depressed. Maybe they don't want to raise them alone, or they simply just not want to go through the process. And it's all in their right to do so. It's not our body. No one except the women themselves have the right to make that difficult choice. And we should not be shaming someone for doing so, or even if they are considering it, we should not shame them. All we should do is mind our own business. All right, well, thank you for listening. Here are my links where I've got some of the information from. A lot of it also was my own opinions and thoughts because, like I said, this is something I feel very strongly about, and I've researched this on multiple occasions. So, thank you all for listening, and I hope I gave you some more insight on why pro choice is the right choice. Thank